What is going on, everyone? It is me. It is me. It is the Don Juan of sports. Adam, how are you guys doing today? We are back at it again with another edition of the Hurry Up Live, baby. Woo! Thank you for all those already in the chat. Big Blue in the Bronx, love you. Love your content. Always great. If you haven't checked out Big Blue in the Bronx, he does a fantastic job of basically letting everybody know what's going on with the Yankees, what's going on with the Giants, and everything sports. But today, this is going to be a predominantly NFL-related show. I have one of my co-hosts joining me in a little bit. His name is Jeffrey T, NY Jeffrey T. So we are ready to get going with that. So some of the news that we're going to talk about today is, will the Jensen injury for the Bucks hurt them? Now, Ryan Jensen is obviously one of their best players on the offensive line, but you know what championship teams do. Championship teams do championship things. So I am sure that Todd Bowles, who, this is funny. If Bruce Arians was on the show, was on the team, I'd probably be more a little bit more confident. But the interesting part here, and I really want to get this in there, is that this is what NFL teams will do. And if you guys think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to have trouble, that's right, trouble fielding another player behind him, you're wrong. Players want to play with Tom Brady. This is how it was. This is how it's going. Everything is going the way on this team, right? So reading something. Let me rephrase that. I'm sure they'll pick up somebody who will be serviceable or good, right? This is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will find a way, as they always do, to figure out a way to get winners there. So I'm reading some of the Giants' thoughts. It looks like the O-line is having some trouble, which we expected, but these are the things that we're going to expect. Jones and Taylor both look like they had some mess-ups. But anyways, like I was saying, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are primed for a big season. Julio Jones, I thought Russell Gage was going to have a big season, but you look at this team, man. Look at this team. They have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Cameron Brayton. They have Julio Jones, Russell Gage. I mean, my God. And now I know that they lost Jensen, but, there's going to be – excuse me. The good thing for the Buccaneers is this. It's early. It's really early. What up, Mac? The tequila is flowing. AK, you're welcome to jump on if you'd like. I can put this StreamYard in there for you. We're just talking about football. The Get Back. Yo, what's up? What's up? I think that's Ash. How you doing, Ash Money? Good to see you. Always good to JC Treader or whatever his last name will replace him. I believe that. AK, Mac, the Giant fan. Ash, to Get Back. Great talking with you guys. Yes, I believe they're going to bring in a guy and have not miss a beat. That's what winning teams do. I mean, think about this, right? JC Treader comes in. Let's just use the name that. Let's just use what AK is saying here. JC Treader comes in, right? You already know, dang, Mac, it ain't even 5 o'clock yet. You already know that he's gonna come in, and he might come in for cheap. Like his asking price may drop. And let's be honest, it's early in camp. I know it's July 29th, and the season's about 6 weeks away, but There's going to be movement. Now, if they can get this guy in early, great. The only thing that the Buccaneers could be fighting with is the money. Everybody that's signed from now before week 2 has guaranteed money. Whatever guaranteed money is given to them, right? Anyone after week 2, anything after week 2, is not guaranteed, right? It's not guaranteed. So, for me, if I'm looking at them, I'm going to get the JC Treader. I'm going to make a trade if I need to, because this team, Tampa Bay, is primed for a Super Bowl run. A Super Bowl run. Okay? They were embarrassed last year. The Rams beat them. They didn't have all their weapons last year. Their running back situations were in and out of the lineup. They had home field advantage and still somehow proceeded to squander it away. And I think they did the same. They did the same thing that they did the year prior to Green Bay. They went out to a big lead and then kind of, cruised, and then they needed critical plays down the stretch to win the game. Same thing happened with them against the Rams. The Rams came up and kind of bit them in the mouth. They fight back, and then the game is basically in the last stages. And obviously what Matthew Stafford hits Cooper Kupp in the middle of the field for a ginormous gain and an obvious big gainer to set them up for the game-winning field goal. But for me, so the Get Back says something about Brian Dable is getting in Aaron Robinson's ass about hitting the receivers. Good. Let him hit the receivers. Stop getting in his ass. We need physical corners. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I love this stuff. I love this stuff. I love the fact that, Ash, you're more than welcome to jump in if you'd like, if you have some time. Oh, there's AK right now. What's going on, AK? Thought you were.
Yeah, no, I got a runner to town here. I got a few minutes, so I figured I'd hop on for a second.
Listen, man, thanks for putting JC Treader in the chat, because that's the guy I was alluding to. But I'm just talking football, not specifically any team, just in general. Not like the Giants or anything. They're going to come up, obviously, because we have some Giant fans in the chat. But I'm talking about how Tampa Bay is stacked this year. And I really do believe that even though they lost this guy and he's a big cog, they'll find a replacement and keep it rolling. Because that's what winning teams do.
Yeah. I mean, dude, their captain's Tom Brady. It's ultimately what's going to happen. I mean, in my opinion, Tom's going to have a say in the replacement because he's got to have some sort of relationship with him, and he's going to want somebody who he can trust. And JC's kind of that guy. He's the experienced dude that can step in and kind of take over right away. It might take a couple of days to get used to it, but because he's the veteran guy, he'll catch on quickly. So
when you're done talking.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then getting Julio, man, like they're primed to try and make another run. They really are. They're trying. So
right. So let me ask you this: Would this be a different scenario if Bruce Arians were here? Do you think Todd Bowles will be able to keep all the personalities in check and keep this ship rolling? Because if Bruce Arians was here, I'd be 100% like no problems. I'm a little wavering because of Todd Bowles, but I'd like to know your thoughts on if Bowles will be able to keep this team together the way Arians did.
All right, I'm going to give you a little twist.
Go ahead.
I don't believe if Bruce was here that you would have Tom right now. I believe the only reason Tom Brady came back is because Bruce went to the front office. I think that was the deal. I don't think that Tom liked playing for Bruce. And that's why he ultimately was going to retire. But whenever he ended up retiring, they were like, what will it take to bring you back? And he likes playing for Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles gets respect from that team. Yeah, he motivates that team, dude. I think that's why you had
Byron Leftwich. Would you still think Brady would be back?
I think Byron Leftwich is one hell of a coach too, man. They're both really good motivational people. They're good coaches. So I don't think you would have Tom Brady right now if Bruce was the head coach. And that's
And
just
do you think there was just friction? Is that what you think was happening?
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't. Maybe the chemistry part wasn't there.
I know he is a abrasive guy.
Yeah,
Bruce,
yeah,
he has a good personality, doesn't take shit from anybody.
Yeah.
Look what he did with that Cardinals team. That Cardinals team alone should put him in the Hall of Fame. But
Yeah.
because he won a Super Bowl, he'll probably go there. I love Bruce Arians, man. I love him as my coach. I get
Yeah.
why Brady would be like,
But when you're a franchise, who are you going to pick? Are you going to pick Todd, or are you going to pick Bruce Arians, or are you going to pick Tom Brady? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Brady has kind of put himself in a class unlike anybody else I've ever seen. Probably in the Jordan era right now. I don't like LeBron, so I'm not going to put him there. But I'll put him in the rarefied era of like Jordan, where a guy can basically dictate what's going on. Although Jordan was a little not as dictatorish like Tom Brady, and like some of these other players are. He kind of wanted to take he didn't get paid the money he wanted to get paid. There's a story about how that's one of the reasons why he left the Bulls is because they weren't going to pay him the money he deserved, and so I understand why. But me, I'm curious. I really do believe Tampa Bay and Green Bay are good. The problem I have with Green Bay, I'm going to transition now.
Well, can we ask Jeff that question real quick?
Go ahead.
Jeff, do you feel that Tom Brady would be here if Bruce Arians was still the head coach, or do you believe that's what made Tom come back?
Thank you, Jeff, for joining.
Yes.
Well, you're welcome, guys. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for having me on the chat, and happy early Friday afternoon to everybody. Well, the Bucks have a big problem already on their hands because I don't know if you guys heard the news, but it seems like their All-Pro center Ryan Jensen looks like he's going to be out for the season with a knee injury. So
we're just talking about that.
So I'm sure Mr. Brady's not very happy about that. The fact that he just lost his center who's going to be snapping the ball to him all season. So, in terms of, do I think if Brady came back just because Bruce Arians was there as a head coach? I think it was maybe partially the reason for that, but I could also see the reason why he went to Tampa Bay because he saw the team that was being built there. He saw the players that were around there and that the fact they were just missing that one key piece to help put him over the top, and that, of course, was the quarterback. And Tom Brady looked at that situation. He said, this is one of my best chances to maybe win another Super Bowl. So that's probably why he decided to go over there as well, because it was already a ready-made team on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. And he just figured this is my best chance to win a Super Bowl. And obviously that's what ended up happening in his first year in Tampa Bay because they had the playmakers. They had the offensive line built. They already had a pretty good defense. So Brady was really that one guy that was able to put them over the top. But I do believe that Arians had part of the reason why Brady decided to go over to Tampa Bay and not go to a place like Miami or stay in New England.
Well, I was actually talking about, how he retired this offseason? And then they moved Bruce Arians to the front office, and they give the head coaching job to who did you say, Adam, again? Bowles? Todd Bowles?
Yeah.
And then Tom Brady comes out of retirement. I think that, yes, I don't think there was any hate between Tom and Bruce Arians. I just believe that the chemistry wasn't there, and he retired thinking he was still going to become the head coach and stay there. But Tampa was like, we'd rather not lose you, so what do we got to do to bring you back? And that was part of the agreement that Bowles had to, or that Bruce Arians had to go to the front office and give Bowles the head coach for him to come back because he likes playing for Bowles rather than Arians.
So let me ask you guys this question.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen – so when I was a kid – growing up, Joe Montana, I thought was going to be a 49er for his entire life.
Yes.
Right? He gets traded to Kansas City. Peyton Manning thought he'd be a Colt his entire life.
Yep.
Brett Favre, same thing. A lot of these older guys are trading. Why hasn't Aaron Rodgers left and done the same thing that Brady has done? Go to a different team, try to restart it. Because a lot of these franchise guys, Wilson, Matt Ryan, a lot of these guys are changing teams, which you thought they would be there for decades to come, and here they are. So my question is, why do you think Aaron Rodgers is still there, and do you think that they're going to be a team represented in the Super Bowl this year?
Do I think Green Bay is going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, they were 13-3 the last 2 seasons, right? You know, they lost to the championship game or the divisional round this year against the 49ers, right?
Mhm.
This year they lose Devontae Adams. Yes, I know they don't have a lot of great players, but they have a fierce defense. Aaron Rodgers is going to spread the ball around. Do you think they have a chance to represent? And do you think it was a good idea for Green Bay to extend Aaron Rodgers?
No, I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers. I mean, of course, it's a good idea to extend him, but not at that type of money that he was asking for. Because look what it ended up doing. By him asking for that large of a contract, it ended up costing them their All-Pro receiver. And then don't forget about who they lost on the defensive side of the ball. They lost one, arguably their best pass rusher, in Zadarius Smith, who actually went to their division rival, Minnesota Vikings. So,
well, I can't knock that because Rashad Gary did come up and have 9.5 sacks this year, so he kind of replaced that production. So, and they're really loving him and Preston Smith and the Quay Walker kid as well as their linebacking core. But my only concern is that is Green Bay hanging on to something that maybe they should have moved on from, right? Because maybe Aaron Rodgers should have been in this quarterback sweepstakes that they had. You know, he kind of was until they gave him the extension. He's 39? Like, you're giving this guy a 3-year deal for $100-something million, and he's 39 years old? I mean, come on.
All right. Listen, I know you guys know I am a huge Aaron Rodgers supporter. Listen, there's only, I don't even know, honestly, how many you can say. But do you know in his 19-year career, Aaron Rodgers has less than 100 interceptions? Less than 100. He has 93. Okay? And when you're looking at just his position alone, just in the quarterback position, all right, you look at Tom Brady, he has 256 interceptions. You look at Peyton Manning, he's in the 200s. You know, you look at all these greats. He has 112 QBR his entire career. 112. His accuracy is, I forget. I had it at one point. But the fact that this man has only thrown, not just that, but in the last 3 years, he's only thrown 14 interceptions. That's amazing, dude. He's back-to-back MVP.
Imagine if he started, he would have more yardage, right? Right now, he doesn't. You
know. You're right. Now, not including that, he also has 2 MVPs before Devontae Adams. Let's not forget.
Oh, no,
that Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers before Devontae Adams.
You know,
so
you bring up a great point. Finish your point.
I'm telling you, man, Aaron Rodgers, there's a respect level between Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, you hear the negative shit, but dude, you hear all the negative shit from every fan base. Hell, look at ours, look at yours. You know, that you're always going to have haters. But dude, he loves Green Bay, and they love him. And they know what they got. And if it wasn't just for one Super Bowl and Tom Brady in this conversation, dude, Aaron Rodgers is definitely, hands down, one of the best quarterbacks to ever live in our life. I mean, to throw less than 100 interceptions in 19 years and have a QB of 112, that's fucking amazing, dude.
He actually has 89 interceptions and 423 touchdowns, which is a crazy...
That is amazing.
You can never discount what his numbers are. He's incredibly, what he's done in the NFL is remarkable.
I mean, that number alone right there has put him in the Hall of Fame because 423 touchdowns to 89 interceptions. I don't even know the math on that. I'm gonna have to do a calculator to find out.
No, he has only thrown, by that calculation, he's only thrown like 2 interceptions a year.
Yes, he's been in the league. Well, if you do from when he started, right? Because you can't count. Yeah. Well, he did throw 13 interceptions.
It's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. Just put it that way. It's unheard of.
I am not a huge supporter of the guy. Like, he's never been my favorite quarterback. But when you put it into perspective, you're right. You know, you said something that I want to touch on that I think people are forgetting. He was Aaron Rodgers prior to Devontae Adams. offense.
Yes.
And I want to make that point clear because everyone's like, "Oh my God, he has no receivers." No, this is the type of quarterback that makes booty receivers better. He's got Sammy Watkins. I know he may not make the team. He's got Chris Watson. Like, look what he did with Randall Cobb his rookie year. You don't think that kid Christian Watkins, if he makes it healthy, is not going to be able to help? I mean, look what Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. They got rid of Tyreek Hill. You don't think Mahomes is still going to be good without Tyreek Hill? I mean, he hasn't proven it the way that Aaron Rodgers did, but Aaron Rodgers from 2008. Let's see. Let's look at this thing here. 2008. Devontae Adams did not show up till what? 2016, 2015? And he still was throwing.
I think it was in Beckham's draft, 2014.
Okay, so then he's thrown 4,000 yards 2008, 2009, 4,400. 2010, when they won the Super Bowl, he threw for 3,900 yards. Probably would have thrown for over 4,000 if he played the last game. In 2011, where we destroyed them, he had 4,600 yards, and then 4,200 yards, and then he was injured in 2013, and then 2014 he had 2,500 yards. In 2013, only played 9 games though. So if you double that, it's probably another 4,000 yard season. And then you had Green Bay where he got 4,300 yards in 2014. But before that, I said there's 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons where he didn't have Devontae Adams. He still threw for damn near 5 seasons, if you want to call it, damn near 4,000 yards.
Well, that team's always had great receivers too. I mean, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. These guys are not scrub receivers. They've been great receivers in the NFL too, but Aaron Rodgers also lifted their games to new levels at times too. I mean, when these guys, were either going through the downturns of their career or they were struggling a little bit and they needed, that quarterback to help bring them up another notch, Aaron Rodgers will be able to do that. But, I mean, it's not like Green Bay didn't have scrubs at the same time at wide receiver. They've had great receivers for years.
Yeah. But hold on a second. You got to realize something, though. In Devontae Adams' 8 years with Green Bay, he's put up 7,200 yards, almost or 78. He's almost 8,000 yards in 8 years. Okay, Donald Driver and them, yes, they were great, but they were not on Devontae Adams scale. I mean, Devontae Adams had like 70 touchdowns in Green Bay in 8 years. Like that, they were good, but they weren't that good.
I'd argue on Donald Driver. Go look at his numbers. Donald Driver's numbers are better than you think.
Yeah, but he did most of that damage with Brett Favre, right? He didn't do all that damage with. If you want to tell me about Greg Jennings, yes, Greg Jennings was a good player.
Yes.
I like him. Donald the Duke and Driver was good as well. He's kind of like when they left the Robert Brooks and the Antonio Freeman era, he came in, Donald Driver, and he was kind of that next receiver that was good. And then they brought in Greg Jennings. They also had,
Jordy Nelson.
They
had that tight end too back in the day. I forget what his name was. Michael Finley, I think.
Michael Finley.
Jamaican Finley, yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of guys. I mean, they had Bubba Franks back in the day. They've had a lot of players over the years. I get it, but that's what winning franchises do. They just keep replenishing their players, and that's what great quarterbacks can do. I mean, Peyton Manning. I'm not going to complain that Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison, Dallas Clark, and Reggie Wayne. They produced. Those guys were good. That's called smart thinking right there. And then Reggie Wayne leaves, and they still bring in other guys behind him.
But you can have good guys and make mistakes. The fact is, Aaron Rodgers has had good guys and he hasn't made mistakes. That's what I'm looking at. Like, when you say a guy's only thrown 89 interceptions in his 18 years, that means he's precise and he's on money when he throws that football. He's not making mistakes. Like 256 interceptions, that's big, dude. That's a lot compared to 89.
But okay, that is true. So you know what? You can't even defend the argument because Brady has had, I wouldn't say he's taken more chances, but he's Tom Brady. He's won 7 Super Bowls. I can't really say much. The 256, yes, I see he throws the yard around, but when you think about it, let me look at these numbers for you in terms of touchdowns for Mr. Rodgers here. Okay, for the seasons. We'll only do the last couple seasons. The last couple seasons he's thrown. In 2018, he threw for 43 touchdowns. He threw 38 touchdowns. Oh, am I looking at the touchdowns? Sorry, no, wrong stat here. He threw for 48 touchdowns in 2020. That is insane.
Yes.
And 5 interceptions. Last year, they were a bit of a down year. 37 touchdowns and 4 picks. I would love to have that number. You know what? Like that? Deshaun Watson had a number like that, and people are still telling me he's the best quarterback. Like, I don't understand, man. Like, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers throwing for 37 and 4, right? And that's great numbers. Deshaun Watson did it. I know people hate him, but he did 33 and 3.
33 and 7.
What also helped out a guy like Aaron Rodgers too is remember, AK, you were talking not that long ago about, like, you know, your wide receivers help you out because, like, you know, you could develop that chemistry with them.
Mm-hmm.
He always knew where those wide receivers were going to be, and it helped develop that chemistry where he's going to be able to get those guys the ball in the precise routes.
Yeah, but he throws them open though. He makes his receivers run to the ball. There's a difference between what I was talking about and what Rodgers truly does. Rodgers makes sure if he see, I don't know how he does it, bro. When he sees that there's a corner on you, he throws it to the opposite side to where he knows that corner can't get it and where his wide receiver has the best chance of catching it. Like, he makes that adjustment on split-second decisions, and he makes wide receivers catch that ball, dude. Like, he just doesn't throw it. He throws it precisely.
Where that intangible that not a lot of other quarterbacks have.
I've never seen a guy be able to make his receivers do that. Like, his ability to, dude, I would love to have a man like him throwing to me because I'm almost guaranteed to always catch it because he never puts it in a place where the defender can get it. And I've never seen a quarterback be able to do it as consistent as that man.
But the synergy also between, he's worked with those guys for a long time, so it does help him out that he's not working with a bunch of practice squad guys that he really hasn't had a chance, you know, to, like, really develop that chemistry with. Like, these are guys he's worked with over and over and over. So
yeah, he's going to do it with Watson, Jeff. He's going to do it.
Lazard is that guy. Allen Lazard is that guy you got to watch out for because he has good chemistry with Lazard, and he's a pretty good receiver. I think he's a pretty good receiver, and I agree with Christian Watson. Once that guy learns the NFL game more, watch out for him. He could be the next – because Green Bay, for some reason, like Pittsburgh, they're just really good when it comes to churning out good receivers all the time. And Aaron Rodgers is going to help make this guy even better.
My point with the whole Watson thing, though, is what's going to make Watson great, and watch how Watson or Rodgers throws to Watson. He's not throwing to Watson. He's throwing it away from him and making him go chase it. And that's because he throws it to where it only helps his wide receiver. And watch how he does that, dude. It's going to make him look so fucking good this year.
Well, I agree. Let me jump in here real quick. Sorry, I don't want to.
I got to get going anyway, guys. I appreciate the conversation.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Easy, okay?
Talk to you.
So, sorry, Jeff. So my thing to AK's point is this: I think that he's going to. I think that when you go to a team that wins, right, the bar is set so high that you don't want to be that guy that drops the pass. You don't want to be that guy that lets down Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. I think when you have guys like this, guys are going to come in already knowing the tone has to be set. When you come into the New York Giants, you don't really give a damn. I mean, look at Kenny Golladay, right? He's coming in there. He's yelling at people. He's up their ass and stuff. Like, you come in. You know why he does that? Because there's no alpha male in the quarterback room. When Aaron Rodgers is there, Christian Watson's going to be like, yo, I'm going to do everything I can to have this guy trust me to get me the football, because he's not coming into a team where he needs to be the hero. All he needs to do is do his job. And I hate to use that line from Bill Belichick, but do his job and he wins, right? Because Aaron Rodgers is going to make him, he's going to make him better by just doing what AK said, throwing it to a spot. If you're not there, ball's going to whiz by your head. Get there, kid. You know, he's kind of an old school kind of player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the one thing you got to respect and like about guys like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers is they're going to put accountability on their players. If you guys aren't getting the job done, if you drop a pass, if you don't run the right route, if you miss an assignment or anything like that, the ball's probably not going to be going your way for a decent amount of time, especially if you're not one of those upper echelon superstar players. He's going to make you earn the ability to get that ball being thrown back to you. So you have to have accountability for your playmakers around you if they don't do their job. And I mean, that's what you got to respect about guys like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady is they command that respect in the huddle, whether it's in practice, whether it's in preseason games, regular season games. They make sure that you're accountable at all times for your play on the field and off the field in practice. So you gotta love and respect that about guys, about Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and those veteran quarterbacks out there.
I agree with you, but let's keep it going. I mean, this is training camp season, and I'm very excited with the overall way that it's going for the Giants. Today there was a rough practice for the offense, which is good to hear because that means the defense is getting down what they need to do, and we need to make sure that offense does what it needs to do. Now, I'm not going to focus strictly on the Giants because there's a ton going on, but a team I want to focus on that I like right now that people are talking about that's hot is the Indianapolis Colts. Do we think, fellas, that they are going to be a team that is in the Final Four for the Super Bowl, or do we think that they're going to fall short again? I'd love your thoughts.
I think they're a team that could possibly be there in the Final Four because, I mean, a couple of their weaknesses that they need to fix when it came to this offseason is they need to try to find a way to add more playmakers out there for Matt Ryan coming in as the quarterback now to, not only have to rely on Taylor as the running back, Jonathan Taylor solely. They need to get some more outside playmakers, some more options for him to throw the ball to. So that's where they were able to get guys like Jelani Woods out of Virginia, as well as being able to get Alec Pierce, who's going to be a pretty good number 2 receiver. I mean, there's still questions that they're going to get Tyreek Hill back. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr., probably one of the most underappreciated wide receivers last year. He just had 1,000 yards receiving. So, I mean, the guy actually had a pretty underrated season. I mean, we all know what Taylor can do at running back. He's phenomenal. And, I mean, their offensive line is still solid. And, I mean, Matt Ryan is still a pretty decent quarterback in the league. Sure, he's not what he was probably in his prime, but he could still be able to deliver the ball to his receivers when it's there. And you got that beast at running back that's going to be able to open up the holes and be able to, give that team, give the opposing defenses something to think about at all times, trying to stack that box. And you have a veteran quarterback like Matt Ryan that should be able to pick, his receiver that has a one-on-one coverage. And in terms of like the other side of the ball was a problem was the secondary. And they were able to go out there and get Stephon Gilmore to help shore up that secondary, as well as Rodney McLeod at safety. And we all know what the rest of that defense is like. I mean, they got Yannick Ngakoue as another pass rusher to go opposite of Kwity Paye. DeForest Buckner, who is one of the best defensive tackles in football. We all know what Darius Leonard, I forget what I know he changed his name recently. I mean, he's one of the best linebackers in the league. This Colts team is primed to be in the conversation for a potential AFC championship this year. Do I think they're going to get there this year? To be honest, I don't, because I still think there's some teams that are a little bit better in the AFC. I think the Buffalo Bills, prime example, is a team that's going to be right there in the thick of things. That's a team that's probably going to go to the Super Bowl. I really think Buffalo is going to be that team that's going to get over the hump. And I really like a lot of those teams in the AFC West. One of them is going to eventually get to the position of being the AFC Championship, whether it's the Chargers, the Raiders, the Chiefs, whoever it is. I just think that those teams right now are just a little bit better overall when it comes to, like, the AFC landscape than the Colts. But I think the Colts do have a chance to get to that position when it's all said and done.
Mitchell?
Hey, what's up? I just came back. What's up?
Well, we're talking about the Colts. I will go on, and then we'll hear your points. But I asked Jeff and yourself, do you think the Colts have a chance to be in the Final Four of the AFC, tournament to represent for the Super Bowl? I am intrigued by this team. I don't think they're going to be number one. I'm still picking LA as my team. I love Buffalo. I would love to see them go. And Kansas City, it has been there the last 4 years. So my question to Jeff was, do you think the Colts have enough to get there, and will they punch their ticket to the Super Bowl?
I don't know, man. I just love the Bills right now. The Bills are just building. They've done everything right. I'm telling you, they got a running back. Josh Allen's on another level right now. I'm telling you, I just like the Bills. I like the defense. Can the Colts do that? Yeah, it depends on Matt Ryan. It depends on Ryan and what he can do. I know he has Jonathan Taylor to hand him the ball, right? He's got that. And yeah, it just depends on Matt Ryan on the end of the day for me. See if he still has it in the tank, which I think he does.
Adam, I got a little bit of football news for you if you want to hear it.
In 1 second, I was going to say something. I think, Jeff, you and I can relate this to like the old NBA, right? When like a guy like Charles Barkley leads his team to the championship, he loses to a guy like Jordan. Ryan, who went from the NFC, where he could possibly, if he had the same team, be representing in the Super Bowl, to a now 7 or 8 other teams that could be fighting for that same spot. Reminds me of the old NBA when you had one conference that was more dominant than the other.
Absolutely, I love the take that you just said. It does feel like that completely. I actually I don't have a rebuttal to that. That was perfectly said. But
What is your NFL news?
Well, a couple of NFL news that just came out. I'm checking on Bleacher Report. Chase Young, obviously the Washington Commanders defensive end, is expected to miss the start of the regular season. So obviously he's still having a little bit of issues trying to rehab from that ACL tear he had last year. So he's not expected to be ready for the beginning of the season. Ditto for Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup, who made that known yesterday that he's not expected to be ready for the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they signed that kid from the Generals, the MVP
Kevon Turpin.
Right,
Yeah.
the MVP of the X whatever that league is, USFL.
USFL, yeah.
Veteran defensive lineman from the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens, Derek Wolfe, just announced his retirement in the NFL today. So
wow.
Happy retirement for him. He's had a pretty good career.
Yeah,
Packers
that's good.
activated wide receiver Sammy Watkins from the NFI list, so seems like
Look at
he's
you
gonna be good to go.
dropping dimes on him right now
Yeah.
on the hurry up.
Danny
I love
Dimes.
it.
And this one just about a few minutes ago, 49ers defensive lineman Eric Armstead is supposed to miss at least a few weeks with an MCL sprain. So that's a pretty big blow to that San Francisco
that's huge.
defensive line. Eric Armstead's had a pretty good bounce back year last year. He's going to be out with an MCL sprain.
Listen, that is good to have now because you're not in the
Absolutely.
regular season. So if he's not, I mean, we have 6 weeks. We haven't even played our first preseason game yet. So I know that these injuries are a lot coming down the pike. But I think a guy like him for the 49ers, they're just going to probably tell him, hey, listen, sit, get better, come to the facility, enjoy some free buffet, and get right for when we play the game because we're going to need you for 17 games, not for the 3 games that we're playing in the preseason. So I agree with you there. Jeff's dropping the news. We're going to call him Jeffter, right? He's like Adam Schefter. We're going to call him Jeffter.
I love this news. From the Giants press conference today, Xavier McKinney said that new defensive coordinator Wink Martindale linked him up with Eric Weddle this offseason. The two had conversations about how to execute the defense Weddle played in with the Ravens. So that's really good to hear that you have Xavier McKinney linking up with one of the best safeties like at that time for the past 10, 15 years when Weddle was out there. Obviously being able to give some experience on how it is to play in that Wink Martindale's defensive system. So I love hearing that too.
And Jihad Ward called Joe Shane Tom Cruise. Listen, man, I like the atmosphere that this team is getting. I think Wink Martindale doing that was phenomenal. This is what we talk about when coaches are supposed to help you get better. That's a mentorship that you want to hear. That's a mentorship that you're like, Eric Weddle, borderline Hall of Fame safety, probably will go now because he won and played with the separated children in the Super Bowl this year. So when his name comes up, he'll be in the ballot. He was a notch below Polamalu, a notch below Ed Reed, but he was always there in that conversation of top safety in the league. And he played with the Ravens, obviously, to have the Wink Martindale experience. I love that. I love that a coach is not too, I guess, egotistical where he's like, here, this is how we're going to use you. call a guy that was in your position, he'll tell you exactly how it works. And, good for Xavier McKinney for following up,
McKinney was apparently wearing the green dot in practice today, so obviously they're giving him more. He obviously is going to be taking more of command of the plays and everything. He's been able to run some of the plays for the defense, so that's good to hear that they're putting their trust in the third-year safety to be able to run some of the plays for the defense.
I haven't loved the safety like I love McKinney since Kenny Phillips.
Yeah.
Kenny Phillips came in to the Giants. I said, we have our guy. He may not be Sean Taylor, but he's going to make plays that we haven't seen from a safety position. And unfortunately, the knee injury kind of derailed him, but he ended up winning a Super Bowl and really helping out. Xavier McKinney, he's my guy. When we got him and Dave Gettleman did one of the smartest moves. Like, listen, we hate on Dave Gettleman. We rag on that guy because his pants were too high and his accent was too funny. But he brought in a couple of good players that are going to be here for a long time. Andrew Thomas and Xavier McKinney, right?
He hit 2 home runs with those 2 top picks in 2020 because both Thomas looks phenomenal too. I mean, you've seen this guy block so far, and you hear his attitude right now in practice. This guy looks like he knows he's got it. Like, he's ready to have a monster season and become one of the best left tackles in football. I've been praising this guy all offseason for how he looks and how he sounds right now. But I agree with 100% on McKinney too. McKinney looks like he's about to take a major step in terms of his leadership of this defense going forward, and that's something you love to hear, especially at the safety position.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm loving it for the fact that we got a guy who's going to be a playmaker, who's going to be, like you said, the leader of that defense, and is going to make everybody better, right? And the defense is now winning things. I'm not going to go up there and say they're going to be a top 5 defense because I think that's a little over the top.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be a competitive defense. Think of Patrick Graham, hopefully with less mistakes inside of 2 minutes, right? They're going to be less amoeba and more blitz. The one thing I will want to see with Wink Martindale is, let's say someone does get nicked up, a couple guys get banged up. This is the NFL. Guys are going to be in and out of lineups for various reasons throughout the season. Will he still have that, pedal to the metal attitude? Because I think what did in James Bettcher, James Bettcher had personnel issues and was stubborn. But Patrick Graham and James Bettcher both were done in by injuries and lack of adjustments, really, right?
Absolutely.
Wink Martindale rarely adjusts, right? He just keeps blitzing. So will he do – because if he does that and the Giants' defense becomes ineffective, essentially you're neutering yourself because you want to, play conservatively. Will he be aggressive the entire time? Because I think that's what's going to cost the Giants games is if we're in a shootout, they give up a big play down the field, the team scores a touchdown, and then we have to rely on Daniel Jones, who, by the way, is struggling right now. Both quarterbacks are struggling, but is struggling right now to get the offense to come down and lead us downfield. And I don't know if that's the only thing I'm worried about with Wink Martindale. Like, don't lose your identity, bro. You did it in the Ravens, and because the Ravens, for whatever reason, you butted heads with John Harbaugh. I mean, they were longtime friends, man. They did a study on it. He's known the Harbaugh family for years. So it's interesting to see how he plays this because, again, the Giants don't have the same personnel, and nor do they have the same personnel with the Ravens.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's why I agree with your point that you made before, Adam, about this team. We have to I understand getting very excited about this team and, getting the hype is, something you want to get behind because of what you're seeing, the new change in leadership. You love what you hear. You love what you see. But remember, like we've said, this is a team still a work in progress. And this is a team that still has to learn the schematics of things, learn the playbooks, gel with one another and everything. So this is not going to be, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's not going to be something that's going to automatically click and you're going to see this team throwing up 30, 40 points a game in the first couple of weeks of the season. It's going to take time for these players to gel with one another, work on their timing in terms of quarterback to his playmakers, the offensive line getting to know, how one another plays, in terms of their technique on the offensive line, how they block. And then, it's just be able to learn the playbook completely. So nobody should be really surprised the defense right now is way ahead of the offense. This is what you were expecting. And, I mean, The one thing that worries me about the defense right now is if somebody is able to pick up that blitz, pick up the blitz from the defensive line and be able to throw the ball over the middle to your tight end or even a screen pass to the running back. I don't know if we could trust those inside linebackers right now to be able to cover in space because we don't know how Blake Martinez might be moving around a lot better right now. He seems to be more active in practice. We don't know how Blake Martinez is going to look in terms of game situations because he's still coming off that ACL, and it's going to take time for him to fully get back to where we know he can be. And the rest of those inside linebackers, they're works in progress. Tate Crowder, do we really trust Tate Crowder to be able to go over there and, if he has to cover a tight end, God forbid, he's going to be able to do that? No. Do we think that Darian Beavers and Michael McFadden can be able to do that? No. And, no disrespect to this kid we just brought in, Austin, I forgot the name, Calitro. He's more of a special teams guy. He's not. We can't rely on this guy to be, a stopper on the linebackers. I'm scared to death of those inside linebackers right now.
I'm wondering if that's going to be a focal point going forward because a guy like Darren Beavers does what Wink Martindale wants to do. But you're right. If he's out in space, is he going to be able to make those plays? My question becomes: they don't have a Patrick Queen, right? They don't have a C.J. Mosley. They don't have a guy that you can trust that's going to be sideline to sideline, drop back in coverage and make those plays. Blake Martinez he's a run stuffer. He can play a Tampa 2 if you want him to. That's a Patriot type of defense where you drop everybody into zone and just let your linebackers kind of roam around there. But Martindale doesn't do that. He wants everybody to have some type of assignment and to do it. And if you watch that Ravens team, they're going to bring basically the entire defense to the line and have you guess who's coming. Now, if they don't have a guy that can drop out quickly into coverage, you're going to be able to beat the Giants because of lack of foot speed. So I agree with you there. So maybe that's going to be something that we're going to be worried about this season. And next year when we go into the draft, once we get our quarterback, maybe the second or third round will be a bona fide linebacker from like a Quay Walker type who can really cement this defense the way we think he needs to cement it.
We need ourselves a coverage linebacker because we've been getting beaten by the tight end so much every single year. That's been one of the biggest bugaboos with this defense for so long is that we've never been able to find a way to cover the tight end. So I think the New York Giants have to make sure next offseason, whether it's in free agency or especially in the draft, they got to go out there and try to find themselves a sideline-to-sideline coverage linebacker that's going to be able to lock up the tight end when teams are able to pick up the blitz and try to pass over the middle to the tight end or even to the running back over the middle. That's what one of the biggest focuses with this New York Giants team should be going into next year is be able to find that linebacker that can play side to side. But, is anybody really surprised the offense is struggling right now in terms this is a work in progress with this offense. There's a lot that needs to be put together, and this team has to gel. I'm not surprised either. This is what was expected.
Right, but actually, I'm not saying I'm not surprised. What I'm saying, I am saying I'm not surprised. What I'm saying is other fans of the team were expecting a little bit more because they're saying like, oh, the Giants' offense is kicking ass and taking names and all this other stuff that they, you know how they do, how we do, that's how people do, right? They want to believe in the hype, and I agree. But like I said, I think even Sean O'Hara said it, and he was trying to fluff up Daniel Jones. He's like, they've only been around each other a few weeks, right? It's taken years for guys to gel. Unless you're Tom Brady, like that Tom Brady Tampa Bay team, that Tampa Bay team was already together. All he did was walk in and take the guys that were already there and elevate them, right? So it's not like we have that here. The Giants are still putting the pieces together. We don't know if some of these guys on offense are going to be here next year. Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney. People go back and forth every freaking day with that kid. 1 minute it's like, yeah, well, I want to keep him. Yeah, it's cool. Next minute it's like, oh, I can see the Giants trading him. Like he's a bad apple, blah, blah, blah. And Wan'Dale Robinson is now having trouble inside the red zone, which I kept telling people about, is he's a big guy.
Exactly. And that's why, Adam, I brought up the point earlier, not to discredit anything that Aaron Rodgers has done. We all know how phenomenal of a quarterback he is, but he worked with those receivers he had for years. He developed that chemistry with them for years. He played with those guys like Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, James Jones during the latter parts of his career. He played with those guys for a long time, and he was able to develop that long-term chemistry, which helped make it easier for him on the field because they were mostly on the field with him. They didn't get hurt a lot, and it helped when it came to knowing the schemes, knowing where they're going to be on the field at all times. It helps when you're able to do that. And right now, like you mentioned, Daniel Jones doesn't really have that with those guys right now. Besides, guys like Darius Slayton, who's having issues with, dropping the ball, and obviously Sterling Shepard, who's right now out with injury. He hasn't really developed that chemistry where he can, know where these guys are going to be at all times on the field with like a Kenny Golladay or Kadarius Toney, even Wan'Dale Robinson to a degree, Daniel Bellinger, because they're still fresh and new to the system. Last year, Golladay and Toney spent a lot of time injured, as well as Daniel Jones in the training camp as well as during the season. So it's like it's going to take some time for these guys to get their timing together and know exactly where they are on the field to be like, oh, I know Golladay is going to run that route, so I know where exactly to put the ball so he's going to be able to make the play. Or I know exactly where Kadarius Toney is going to be in this sort of, he's going to run this route. I know where exactly to fit the ball in, so we know he's going to make that play. Barkley, I could say maybe he has a little bit of better connection with him, but Barkley has also missed a lot of time too, so that hasn't helped out at all either. But I mean, it's going to take time for these guys to work out that chemistry and work out that timing with one another. So nobody should be shocked with this offense. So that's going to be a work in progress, especially at the beginning of the season.
Oh, I agree with you to an extent. And I also want to say this. There was also miscommunication because, like I was telling a lot of people before, they have the autonomy to get off the line however they want, right?
Yeah.
The receiving core. So that tells me that you're not running like 1, 2, 3 and cutting in. You're running like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 and making a move to get off the line, which is great. But if, like I said, if Tony says, you know what, I already juked this guy inside 3 times. He thinks I'm going outside. Maybe I'll go to the outside this time. And Daniel's like, all right, we just ran the same play. Now Tony's going to the inside. And now you throw a pick because the corner who now you just ran on anticipates a little differently than Tony. And Tony, who sees something that he thought was good, to make that route, all of a sudden does something that's different, and it's an interception because, the timing is off. So for me, those are the type of things that when we get into a game, that's what I really want to see. Because right now against practice, this is what people don't understand. It's controlled environment, people. You can't really touch the guys. You can't touch the guys in the game. You sure as hell can't touch them in practice.
There's
right?
no pads on, no hitting,
Right.
no pads, nothing.
And on top of that, they want to see the play develop, meaning they want to see the entire play because it's not being deaded, right? So, like Daniel Jones went to throw a touchdown pass, would have been sacked by Kayvon Thibodeau. Well, they let the play go because they want to see Daniel Jones make that throw if it's there. So a lot of these things that you're seeing are continuation plays. When the real bullets fly and there's no stoppage or people can actually be tackled and plays become dead, it'll be a different story at that point. So I really want to see, and this is why I'm telling you about a guy like Tennessee. Like, people, I know you want to believe the Giants are going to beat them, and I'm there with you. But I got to respect what Tennessee has done. I can't just be like, Tennessee, blah, because that defense is going to be good. And they're not going to rely on the receiving core like they did last year. This year, they're going to build it around Derrick Henry. And they're going to say, we're going to bludgeon you all day, every day. Can you beat us right now? And then that defense, what they're going to try to do is keep you off the scoreboard so they can play that ball control, Mike Vrabel, Joe Judge type of offense that is going to win football games. Now, I'm just worried that if we get too confident and it starts to spread to the players, that we're going to walk in there thinking, we're going to beat Tennessee, no problem, and Tennessee comes smacks us in the mouth. Because, again, they're in a division that is a 2-team division. They're in a division that's like got 8 teams across the entire conference that are going to be fighting for, spots. They got like 9 or 10 teams that all have quarterbacks, all have a chance. So they cannot slip here. And I know people are going to, I don't believe that Mike Vrabel is going to let that team miss a beat, especially because he's from the Bill Belichick tree, not of coaching, but of play style. He's going to have those boys ready. He's going to tell them, don't let this team that we know we're better than beat us. Don't be the reason the Giants are getting accolades. You know what I mean?
There's no reason why any of these New York Giants players should be cocky, think that they're going to beat anybody right now when a lot of them have a whole lot to prove right now. I know you want to maybe get cocky. You maybe want to get a little bit excited what you see right now in practice because things look a little bit going a little bit more smoothly. But what are these guys? A lot of these guys have a whole lot to prove right now. They have to go into where they have to make sure they can get their timing, get their practice reps, stay healthy. They have to make sure that they don't get over their heads right now going against, like you mentioned, a very, very well-coached Tennessee Titans team. While maybe they don't have all the talent that they had last year, they're still a very talented team, especially on the defensive side of that ball. And it's when you're going into this game with an offensive line that still is gelling together, with a bunch of playmakers that are, they have something to prove, but, we have to question if they're going to be healthy and if they're going to be able to make the type of impact we believe they can with the scheme they're going to run. And we have to see what Daniel Jones is going to bring to the table. He's not going to hold the ball too long, which he still is apparently doing right now in practice. He's still holding the ball too long, and he's still locking his eyes on his first target rather than scanning the field. So I thought from the beginning that this was going to be a close game because I think both teams have a very good pass rush right now going into the season. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I would not be surprised if this is a very low-scoring game. Maybe it's like, the 10s, 14s, maybe 17 points if, they run into like a special teams play. I think special teams could actually play into a factor into this game too. Don't be surprised if either team as a special teams play is going to factor into maybe which team is going to win this game.
No offense to you, I think you're overvaluing this defense right now. Now, I'm not saying the defense is not good, but to me, that's almost like slapping the face of the Titans saying, well, the Giants defense, who hasn't played a down together, a snap together in a regular season game, is going to be better than a hardened playoff tough team. Guys that have been on there, guys they've been building. Last year, go listen to, if you guys get a chance, Giants.com does a great show called Big Blue Kickoff Live. It's a bit of a homer show, but it's a good show nonetheless, right? They don't always argue some of the same points, but they bring in a lot of guests. They brought in a guest from Tennessee, and I love the show. I know one of the guys who produces it, but they brought in a guy from Tennessee, and the guy from Tennessee was like, yo, y'all are going to – you thought our defense was good this year. It's going to be even better, next year, this season coming up. And I'm like, And he brought up some points about how, they're getting back their cornerback. They were leading. They want to lead the league in sacks this year. They led the league in pressures. They want to lead them in sacks and pressures. Like they've got guys with Bud Dupree, Harold Landry, Simmons in the middle, the linebacker. So pretty good. The defensive backs are pretty solid. So they over there know what they got, right? So the Giants who are coming in, and we're going to be high-fiving and getting ready in the next two months or so to play this game, but I can't overlook the Tennessee defense. I don't care what anybody says. I can't overlook it. And then Derrick Henry, he's the type of back that blows a game open at some point. So the Giants defense can't get worn down. And right now, I don't know what's going to happen. Dexter Lawrence playing a new position, right? They have some moving parts on that defense. Again, they're learning a new defense. It's not the same as Patrick Graham's defense. If you had told me, hypothetically speaking, let's play devil's advocate here. If you had told me that Joe Judge was fired, but you brought in Dable as the coach and you kept Patrick Graham, then I could see you saying, you know what, kudos to the Giants defense. I think they're going to do good. The thing that I'm worried about is that both the offense and defense are trying to learn something at an accelerated pace where you haven't made mistakes. You've made mistakes in practice, but those mistakes aren't going to be the same as in a game, right? Because again, practice is controlled. You'll run the same play again. You'll repeat it or rep it until you get it right. But that doesn't mean anything in a game because you ain't going to do that. You're playing Ryan Tannehill. You're playing quarterbacks that are going to be able to take advantage of your mental errors. So that's what I'm worried about at the beginning of the year. That's why I'm not as confident as everyone else is to say, well, we're going to beat this team right now. Now, had they had Tennessee, like Washington or whatever, down the road, I think it'd be a different game, right? Like the Ravens game might be a little different because you might have gelled at that point a little bit more. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear what you're saying. And the only reason why I brought up that point about the defense is because I don't really love that Tennessee Titans offensive line. I've seen that offensive line right now. I don't think they're anywhere as good as they were before. I think Taylor Lewan is not the type of offensive left tackle that he was in the past. I think he's breaking down. I think they've lost a couple of other key pieces on that line. And I actually think maybe I'm just being a little bit of a giant optimist here when it comes to the defensive line, but I think this defensive line is going to be pretty good. Not just because of what the expectations you're thinking of Thibodeau.
Well,
I'm talking about the other three guys on that line. I think the other three guys are going to be pretty good.
How about we call it a front seven? I think the front seven is going to be pretty good.
I don't love those linebackers. That's why I haven't included the front seven.
The reason why I say that is because they don't consider Kayvon Thibodeau a defensive end. They consider him a linebacker, right? Outside backer, edge rusher. So for me, those are the type of guy like Blake Martinez is not a slouch. You know what I mean? So I think, if those three guys are on the field, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, I don't know who the other tackle will be, depending on who they run a 4-3.
Then maybe they throw Ellerson Smith out there. I mean, he's got the height to possibly be a hybrid player.
I haven't heard anything about that guy all camp.
Oh, Ellerson Smith? He's actually been playing pretty well. He's been getting in the backfield a lot on defense. It's Quincy Roche that's been sort of like the forgotten guy. Ellerson Smith's actually had a pretty good camp. It's
funny because I heard he was balling out today too. I heard that that Quincy Roche balls out with the third team, but he's going up against badass, guys. So, they have a projection here for Great Blue North. I think I want to talk about a guy who I think people are overvaluing, and that's Darius Slayton. This guy is having a terrible camp.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's an understatement.
Hold on one second.
That's an understatement right there. You're saying about Darius Slayton. This guy is doing. He's the quote unquote. That catchphrase. You're doing everything to play yourself off whatever it is, off your job, off your team. Darius Slayton is doing everything right now to play himself off this football team. By the way, he's going out there. But I mean, at the same time, a lot of people are going to say it's practice. It's training camp practice right now, the third day. He can get it corrected and stuff. I'm tired of the drops. I'm tired of hearing all the time and seeing Darius Slayton drop balls. And I've actually been one of the people that's been a little bit high on, thinking that if he's in the certain type of role and he's not out there too much like he has been in the past because of the fact that receivers just can't stay healthy, he could be a decent situational deep threat. But, I mean, I'm just tired of seeing – case in point, the play that happened yesterday when Tyrod Taylor does a nice rollout to his left, throws a beautiful pass to Darius Slayton pretty much in his breadbasket, and, of course, Darius Slayton drops the ball. I'm just tired of seeing the drop passes. I mean, when you're hearing stuff about Richie James right now, the way he's playing right now in camp, and he's been one of my sleepers right now to make this roster, not only as a reserve receiver, but I think this guy can make an impact on special teams in terms of being a kick returner and a punt returner. And I know we get a lot of flack about C.J. Ford. The guy is just a special teamer. We don't care about him as a wide receiver. He's still getting first-team reps at wide receiver. So obviously they think that very highly of this guy in terms of what his role could be on this team. So, and Darius Slayton is not getting a lot of reps on first-team snaps. So he's playing his way off this team right now. And I really think Darius Slayton, the best thing for this guy, and a lot of Giants fans have said this, the best thing for him to do maybe is get a change of scenery and play somewhere else because I just don't think it's working out right now for him in New York. And he was able to take advantage of the fact that there weren't a lot of competition behind him with the likes of Alex Bachman, David Sills, and these other guys that weren't a threat really to take his spot. Now you have other guys on this roster that are pretty much there nipping at his heels and in some cases surpassing him on the depth chart. In terms of getting snaps at first team and maybe even second team snaps over Darius Slayton. So I think the honeymoon with Darius Slayton is over. I think the best thing for him is to move on and maybe get a better opportunity somewhere else. Go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. I think Darius Slayton is not as – I think he's playing right now to his fifth-round status, right? So the thing is he's a fifth-round pick. And I know people don't like this, and I will tell you this right now. This is how the NFL thinks. They first look at your talent, you as a player, and your record, right? But then what they do, the second thing that they do, is they also look at your draft status. What number were you picked? What round were you picked? because that is a factor. I know people don't want to think about that, but that is a real big deal.
Yes.
It was a big deal. And if you are that guy that's not, producing, they will say, hey, listen, we'll get rid of you. And, Richie James, who is an undrafted player from the 49ers, is brought in by this regime. He was brought in to be a kick returner. And like I said, brought in by Daboll and Joe Schoen. So for me, if I'm Darius Slayton, I'm scared because I shouldn't be. If I'm Darius Slayton, I shouldn't be dropping any passes. Okay, I should be catching everything. I should be at the top of the list because guess what?
One of the standouts at camp right now.
Right, exactly. You're a veteran in the NFL. Okay, you got guys like Kadarius Toney who's in their second year who are doing better than you. You have Wando Robinson who's doing better than you. Again, look at the players that picked first round and second round. You expect a lot more out of those guys. But the fact that you've been around, and it's not like he can't produce. He had 2 seasons back to back of 700 something yards, and last year couldn't get out of his own way. I think Darius Slayton has a confidence problem more than an ability problem. I think he's just in his own head, and I think this is why I tell guys like Daniel Jones and Barkley and guys that were with the old regime that have lost, go get rid of them. Make the core clean yourself, rid yourself of the disease that is everything, right? And the Giants have $5 million up against the cap right now. They have $5 million to work with, right? And Joe Schoen said something along the lines of he'll do restructurings, which is one of the things he said he didn't want to do. So the fact that he's going to have to think about doing that tells me that Joe Schoen, was in. He shouldn't have said that. He should have said that's the last possible resort. Anyways, if you need money, guess who you're going to? Guess who I'm going to take $2 million right off the top from and go get me Eric Ebron, or a guy
Adios,
like that.
Mr. Slayton. You're
Exactly.
gone.
Bang. Bye. See you.
And you have to think about it too. I mean, like you said before, Darius Slayton's not their guy. They brought in Richie James as a free agent. And also you have to think about why maybe CJ Board is very highly with this Giants team. Thomas McGahee is still the special teams coach. And you know how much Thomas McGahee loves CJ Board and what he brings to that special teams core. Darius Slayton has nothing. He has to go out there and literally be one of the best on offense almost every practice and earn his stripes.
Someone said that he played whatever position, like return man or some shit. I'm like, Darius Slayton provides nothing as a return man. Okay, we've seen him do nothing as a return man. He didn't do it at Auburn. He did it a few times as a rookie and really didn't do a good job. Like when you watch him, you're like, are you even looking at the lanes? Are you even running? Or are you just running and not following the blocking scheme? You know how that they do that.
You want to give Giants fans heart attacks? Put Darius Slayton over there returning punts or kicks because all of us are going to be holding our breath, hoping he doesn't drop the punt or kick on every single play because of his suspect hands and because, like you said, his confidence problems. That's the last person you right now want to put over there in terms of being a kick returner and punt returner, no matter how much speed he might have. The guy has confidence and drop issues. The confidence issues, it's all about him trying to fix that. And drop issues, they don't get fixed immediately. Some people, they just have drop issues their entire career.
Evan Ingram.
Those things don't get corrected. Exactly.
Which I kept telling people, we can do away with this guy. People wanted to keep him. I said, look at that guy as a bum. Get him out of here. First practice, he's dropping a pass. And not even in a game, in practice. Okay? What you do in practice is a reflection of your games. Daniel Jones, struggling in practice, guess what? He's going to struggle. You need, when I look at guys at practice, there's expectation levels I have for them. Eli, he would throw wobbly passes, but at the beginning of camp, he would start out slow. But by the end of camp, he's throwing laser beams across all over the place, right?
Absolutely.
And I know people are like, well, the Giants have had a history of these quarterbacks, being much maligned because of, Phil Simms and Eli Manning and now Daniel Jones. The two things about those two quarterbacks I mentioned are, one, Phil Simms, was in a different era, right? That was a different era of time. He goes on to win the Super Bowl because of trust with Bill Parcells. I could see Daniel Jones having a Phil Simms-esque type career, but I just don't see it mentally. Mentally, I see a guy who's a bit skittish, who sometimes stands in the pocket too much because he wants to play hero ball, right? And that's going to cost him. I'm not worried about, like right now, they're saying Daniel Jones has problems throwing the short pass. That's one thing. And the other thing that they're trying to do is speed it up for him to get out of there. I'm not worried about all those things. I'm worried about 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. You need to pass the football, because doing a little draw play may not work for you. You need a critical 3rd down. Will he be able to get that when the line becomes leaky? I'm not worried about 3rd and 5s and 3rd and 2s and all that stuff. Those are makeable. I'm worried about when he has to drop back deep, a 2nd and 10, they're going for a pass. And, he's already thrown it behind the receiver a couple times in practice, like literally where defenders could get the ball. This is what I'm saying. I don't know the things that Brian Dable can teach are physical. He can't get into Daniel Jones' head and be like, throw this play. The only player who can do that is him. And let's be honest, Jeff. Russell Wilson's a good player, right? We know that he's going to be a good player. We've seen it consistently happen. Players like Daniel Jones are in the Jimmy Garoppolo, Tyrod Taylor kind of thing. Yes, they're winnable. They're win quarterbacks. Everything goes right. They can win you some games. Hell, maybe get to the Super Bowl here and there. But they're like Jared Goff. Jared Goff, we know, is not great. We know that if you put some things around him, maybe he'll get you in the playoffs, but he's not going to take you over the top all the time. You know what I mean? A guy like Matty Ice, you could argue what you said. I don't believe that he lost that Super Bowl. I believe Kyle Shanahan lost Matt Ryan.
Anybody that's a football fan knows Kyle Shanahan blew that Super Bowl. It was not on Matt Ryan and that offense. Because I even was watching that game and I said they shouldn't pass here, and the person turned to me and goes, "Why?" Because I said the worst thing that could happen is a sack fumble. And guess what? Devontae Hightower came around the corner, and what happened? Sack fumble, basically game changed. That kid looked at me and said, "Damn, are you a prophet?" I said, "No, it's just common sense." Yeah. And so they lack common sense. A lot of people lack common sense. It's just coaching one-on-one in the NFL, And I just think that go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead. What's up, Authentic? How you doing?
What's going on, Authentic? I mean, I've always thought with Daniel Jones, I think the kid does have talent. You have seen him in spurts where he can, make some pretty nice plays on the football field. It's just with him, it's all upstairs. It's all with him cerebrally right now. If he wants to become the quarterback that, some of these fans think he can be, he's got to be able to correct it, in his mind. He's got to be able to make those adjustments in his head because, like you mentioned, coaches can go as far when it comes to correcting a quarterback's mechanics. But when it comes down to it, ultimately, football players have got to try to make it happen cerebrally. They got to try to, get out of their own way sometimes with some of the plays that they do and some of the mistakes that they make. And I think Daniel Jones with him, it's all upstairs. A lot of these mistakes that he makes, a lot of these plays that, we see him make that are just, we sometimes question like what's going on. It's all mental with Daniel Jones. And we have to think right now, is this kid just unfortunately too far gone? What's happened to him so far in his career. And it's just like, no matter what they do around him, no matter how many pieces they build around him and offensive line and everything, that maybe it's too late for Daniel Jones. It's too far gone, and it's just maybe the best thing for him to do is just let him go at the end of the season and just try to, take your losses and try to look for your next quarterback in the draft. It'd be a shame because we all like Daniel Jones as a person. We think he has the moxie to be a good quarterback. He's a hard worker. He's had some decent intangibles with him, but it's just think with the decision making and him cerebrally, we just don't think it's there, and it's a shame.
Well, the thing is, like, you look at a guy like David Carr, right? The guy got sacked 76 times in his rookie season. That messes with you.
Absolutely.
A guy like Daniel Jones who plays hero ball, and we all know he plays hero ball. And I think that's Daniel Jones because of the habits that he's had, right?
Yeah.
The thing that people haven't said to me is how he has to break his old habits. He's been a fumbler and a turnover machine since college. He's played hero ball since college. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Nothing that he's in 3 years with NFL coaching. I don't care what you say about Jason Garrett. They had NFL coaches still coaching him. Shaplinski, people liked. He worked with Tom Brady, so forth and so on, right? He had Mike Shula, like him or not. I think that was the worst quarterback coach he had was Mike Shula. But nothing has improved with this kid. You know, the same things we're talking about, flashes, are what he does. The same flashes I've seen from him are the same flashes I saw from him his rookie year. You know, and those are the type of things that I'm concerned with. He's in practice staring down Saquon Barkley, like literally watching that. The video is Darnay Holmes making a pick. He's standing there, looks at 2-6, looks at 2-6, still looking at 2-6, throws the ball into 2-6, interception.
Can't do that. A linebacker or a safety will eye that, and they will pick it right off and knock it down.
And that's, mind you, that's Darnay Holmes, who's a third-year player, right? That's not like a good defense or a guy who's a starting cornerback in the league, right? For example,
Absolutely.
let's take the Titans, for example, right? He threw another interception. That's 3 for Darnay, pick 6 today. Right. Daniel Jones, the problem that I have with Daniel Jones and the problem that I have with people not understanding is Brian Daboll can't break him from this. I've never seen a guy get so fluffed up in my life. Even the guys on MSG are like, oh, Daniel Jones, like, give me a break. You know why you fluff up somebody? Because they really stink. If you go back to the Dave Brown years, they fluffed up Dave Brown as if we had a competent quarterback in the NFC East. We did not. That's why we brought in Jim Fossil. And while Jim Fossil did make Dave Brown look confident, he was injured. Another proponent of Dave Brown was he got injured. Same thing with Daniel Jones. So for me, the thing that I hate right now is Brian Daboll's like, we don't care about the turnovers. Let him throw turnovers. I don't agree with that. Because what Daniel Jones did last year was he got in his own head because apparently Jason Garrett was like, you throw turnovers, you're going to be on the bench. Now, if I'm Daniel Jones, I'm going to look at Jason Garrett like, yeah, suck the big one because you're not going to win with Mike Glennon and whoever else is back there, right? So for me, if I'm Daniel Jones, I'm playing loose. This year, I'm not playing loose because I've got Tyrod Taylor, who, by the way, if you watch him in practice, yes, he struggled as well, but his pocket presence was moving. The second year tackle, I think it was Gano, gets beaten by, I think it was Roche or Thibodeau. And you know what Tyrod did? He stepped up and he dumped the ball off to the running back and made the play. These are the type of things Daniel can't do. Once he's locked in, and that's what draws you to fumbles because you don't have that flexibility. I can't wait till they get a quarterback that's going to be able to escape the pocket when the chaos is gone. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to mouth Daniel Jones because that's what people think, that I hate him. I like the guy coming out. I thought he had intangibles. I just need him to prove to me that what I'm seeing, hearing, and looking at is not going to be the case going forward. Because for 3 straight seasons, he's turned the ball over. For 3 straight seasons, he's been injured. For 3 straight seasons, he's been staring down receivers. Those are the type of things that, like you said, may not be able to change, you know?
I don't think he can. Coaching can't change this stuff. The only person that can change these types of mistakes and these types of, decision making is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has got to be the one to change it. Coaches can't control what happens, in a quarterback's mind when it comes to this on the field. What is he going to do? Like when Daniel Jones is getting rushed by the defense right now, and they're pretty much right on top of him. The coach is going to tell him in his headset, Daniel, throw the ball to that guy. He's wide open. Daniel, roll out to the left, to the right. You can do it. No, Daniel Jones has got to do that in his head. He's got to be the one to be able to correct these mistakes that he continues to make, and that includes staring down his receivers, holding the ball too much, and his fumbling issues. That's got to be Daniel Jones on his own.
Well, they could pull a Sean McVay and do what McVay would do for Goff, and that's like, hey, man, the defense looking like they're setting up. This, that, and the other thing, make sure to look for somebody on the backside. Once 15 seconds is over, you can't talk to him anymore. But that's how they conveyed to Jared Goff, and that's how he kind of, got through it. He still made mistakes. Even when they were giving him the answer to the test, he still failed the fucking test. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not trying to say I hate Daniel Jones. And if he does great, great. You know what I mean? And if he does great, like Miz said to me yesterday, oh, man, you better be ready. There's going to be receipts on your ass when he's done. Everyone's going to be lining up to take their shots. And I said, all right. But if he does not do well, guess what? My name, you're going to put respect on it because I told you from day one that he shouldn't have been here. And I talked to Bucco. We know Bucco. He's pretty knowledgeable. He said the same thing. He's like, if there was a viable quarterback option in this draft, Daniel Jones would not be here right now. But he's not.
If that happens, I would go up to you, I would go up to NYG22, who's been another one, Authentic. Anybody else that have been like saying about Daniel Jones and why they think he's not the right quarterback, I'll go up to and I'll pretty much tell you either on live air or I'll tell you in Twitter or wherever it is, be like, you guys were right. You guys were 100% right. I'm still hoping that maybe Daniel Jones can find a way to turn it around. Because I'm a Giants fan. I'm trying to be hopeful that Daniel Jones can get the job done. But if he doesn't,
You know,
so be it.
this
I'm not
reminds
going
me
to
of
be.
Joe
I'm not
Judge
going to hate
situation.
anybody either way.
This reminds me of Joe Judge all over again. You know, when fan base is like, bring him back. You know, we want to do it, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, well, mostly me will say, fire him. This is the same way. And the only reason, let's see what Authentic said. He said, I had faith in the kid. Let's see what he said here. He said, I had faith in the kid in 2019 to 2020. But what he has put on tape has me feeling way different. Exactly, Authentic. People are not looking at the tape. They're looking at the excuses. The excuses are not what has made Daniel Jones stink. Excuses are a reason to mask his stupidities. All right? Is there an excuse to throw the ball to the defender when all you have to do is dirt it? All you have to do is throw the ball in the dirt. Dirt that shit to Saquon Barkley. No, what do? You panic, overthrow Saquon Barkley to a defender who is on his knees, probably getting up off the turf, and you throw it right to his gut. And all he does is put his hands up and catches it. And it changes the whole complexion of that football game. Same thing with Kansas City. They had a big turnover in that game, which turned the tide in that game. And we can't have those mistakes. Those are the mistakes I'm worried about. I'm not worried about him beating booty-ass squads like the Washington Redskins. Who cares about them? They stink. I don't care that he beat a Saints team in a dome that wasn't playing that well defensively. Because if you look at it, and I think Authentic might agree with me here, I don't know, we'll see. Daniel Jones' best games have come against the worst teams in the NFL, minus like one or two, right? Minus like Carolina last year, and then minus New Orleans last year. But every other game that he's won, and by the way, there's 10 other games that he's won out of the 12 that he's won as a quarterback. Most of them have been against Washington Redskins. He has like 4 wins against them.
I tell you, you put Daniel Jones against the burgundy and gold Washington Commanders. Daniel Jones might be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He always finds a way to beat that team. Every other team,
right? He has a losing record against.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't do well against good defenses. He's not a natural runner of the football. And what I mean by that is he can't move. He can't throw on the run that well. That's what makes Josh Allen so dangerous, is he can throw on the run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've said it from the beginning.
Yeah,
I mean,
Carolina and Oakland weren't even great games. I said New Orleans was a good game. Carolina, the only reason he had that spectacular catch with that one-handed grab. But other than that, it was a pedestrian game against Oakland, and I was beating this down a dead horse. I said to everybody, I said to them, the Giants should have lost that game. People were like, oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. I said, if there was no pick six, that team was losing 19-16 to the Oakland Raiders. Oh, excuse me, the Las Vegas Raiders. Look, Tampa Bay, Detroit, New York Jets. Well, Jets, did he beat the Jets? I don't think he beat the Jets.
I don't think we beat the Jets. Well,
He did have a good game against them.
Was he the quarterback when we played the Jets or no?
He was, but I think Authentic is bringing up the games that he
No,
was okay.
they lost. They there was a close game, but I think they lost in 2020, I believe.
Yes, yeah, that's what Authentic was saying. Right,
Yeah.
But against terrible defenses. Where's the Minnesota Vikings? He had 1 touchdown. He threw for like 150 yards, right?
Yep.
Same thing he did against Clemson in college. Whoops, a big defense comes to town, and here it is. He wilts. You know, like I can't have a guy beat the bottom feeders. I need you to beat the top teams. I need you to beat top teams, not divisional opponents, not Washington, not Dallas. You know, like beat teams that you can beat. You know, like don't make one throw that's good for a game. You know how many Josh Allen makes? Like, look at freaking Mahomes and Stafford both throw no-look passes in their repertoire. That's in their game. And the thing that I keep saying about Matthew Stafford, he's the guy that I don't compare to Daniel Jones, but I compare with situations, and people are going to say, well, he had Calvin Johnson. You knew Matthew Stafford was good on that Detroit team. He just had a terrible organization running that franchise. But it wasn't Matthew Stafford the reason they're losing games. I mean, he did lose some because he, again, played hero ball and didn't have great talent around him. Right?
That team sucked for years.
But you put him on that LA Charger, that LA Rams team. LA Rams don't win the Super Bowl without Matt Stafford, hands down. I'm saying that right now. They're probably not.
That I can't disagree with you. If they would not. Matthew Stafford was one of the biggest reasons why that team won and why they were as good as they were last year. You could maybe couple it in why Cooper Kupp had arguably one of the best wide receiver seasons in years because of Matthew Stafford.
Facts. And the other thing that he did he changed the whole culture of that team because without him hitting Cooper Kupp in the clutch moments against Tampa Bay, without him, steadying the ship when the team went down, and literally if you go watch Mic'd Up, I suggest you do it, people. Okay. He even goes to Cooper Kupp on the sideline, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. We lost Odell, I'm coming to you. Right? And that tells me he already knows what he's doing. It's not like Daniel Jones, who I'm sitting there looking at a friggin' tablet, and I'm asking myself day in and day out, what the hell are they looking at? Because nothing gets better, and they're still staring at the tablet. You know what I mean? Tom Brady's looking at the tablet not to learn something. Tom Brady's looking at the tablet to be like, man, you saw him throw it the other day, right? Throw it down, that highlight that he throws the tablet down.
Absolutely,
he's looking at it, and he's frustrated with himself. He's not saying, like, oh, it pains me.
Well, what do the last two Super Bowl teams have in common?
They have quarterbacks that took their team on their shoulders.
But also, they were two teams that were already ready-made teams in terms of having the coaching, the offense, and the defense, and they were both a quarterback away, where they didn't believe in their quarterbacks previously. And what did both of them do? They went out there, signed or traded for a veteran, very good quarterback to great quarterback, and they got rid of
first-round picks. It's not like they got rid of like schlubs. They got rid of first-round picks. They got rid of Jared Goff, first overall, and they got rid of Jameis Winston, first overall, right? The year prior, actually. In 2015, Goff goes in 2016. So they got rid of guys who they deemed franchise guys, knew they weren't good enough, knew that they hit their ceiling, and knew that they could move on from them and get somebody else. Like Denver. The problem with Denver right now is they're in a team that's stacked.
If that team was in another division, they'd probably be one of the favorites to win that division. But the fact they're in such a stacked division makes it difficult for them. You think they're going to be able to get out of that division. If they were put in like another division in the AFC, you could maybe call them the favorites. The West is going to be tough.
I give authentic credit. I guess they were stacked. But with Jared Goff, I don't think Jared Goff gets that team where they need to be because of the moments that it came down to in the playoffs, right? Arizona game might be closer if it's not for Matthew Stafford. Tampa Bay game is definitely not one with Jared Goff. He literally, I think it's overtime or the end of regulation, throws a bomb 40 yards downfield that they already had chemistry about, and he beats the corner and makes a dime throw while getting hit in the pocket. I'm just saying, a
couple of years ago when they were in the Super Bowl, Jared Goff was one of the reasons why that team probably didn't win the Super Bowl. Goff was not
right. He missed the wide open Brandon Cooks. He missed the wide open Brandon Cooks. Was it him? Yeah, Brandon. I think it was Brandon Cooks.
I think it was Brandon Cooks. Yeah.
It was like Garoppolo. Garoppolo missed somebody that this is a routine quarterback throw that you should have made. That game's a different ball game. Same thing with Goff. You got to hit those things. And Jones. Not to badmouth him, but he's already missing plays in practice that should have been, routine. Like the Wan'Dale Robinson play that people show, right? The first time in practice, Wan'Dale Robinson actually beats his man. Daniel Jones throws it to, I guess, the spot he thought that, but he overthrew it. If a good quarterback, you need to put that on the guy. Give the kid a chance to make the play. Get a PI, right? You putting it way over his head is not doing you any favors. You know what I'm saying? And then the second route was run perfectly, and he put it in the right spot. So there's going to be a lot of timing issues. Daniel Jones, you have to ask yourself a few questions. One, would he be able to have carried a team in the playoffs like this? Right? Brady missing Wes Welker is how he won the Super Bowl too. That clutch gene is important. Exactly, my friend. Can Daniel Jones carry a team? Can he carry a team? I don't believe he can. He hasn't. He has 3 comeback wins in his entire career against booty ass squads, Tampa Bay and 2 Washington games. Give me a break. We lost out on Chase Young thanks to one of those games. Thanks to one of those moments. Like Daniel Jones is good. He could be an accountant somewhere. He could be a solid.
I didn't really mind about the Chase Young thing because I think we might have actually gotten better in that. I think Andrew Thomas right now looks better as a prospect than Chase Young. I'm not saying Chase Young's garbage or anything, but I think we actually might have made out better out of that whole thing.
Well, yes. I mean, we're splitting.
I'm splitting hairs. I'm just,
right. Chase Young. We had no idea. If we were in the mix for Chase Young, I guarantee you we're walking away with Chase Young over Andrew Thomas. And then we can come back the next year in 2021 and draft fucking Rashawn Slater, and here we go, away we go. And then this year we get Evan Neal, so we would have Rashawn Slater and Evan Neal. Instead, we don't have that, right? Instead, we try to give – this is the other thing, right? Last year's regime went through the exact same process. Oh, what are we going to do for Daniel Jones? What are we going to do for Daniel Jones? They brought in a $200 million receiver and did nothing. Did nothing.
I didn't understand the decision making, what they were doing last year. I don't know. I still don't understand why they spent what $75 million on a wide receiver, and then you go out and draft another wide receiver in the first round. I just didn't understand the thinking with that.
You spent $76 million on a receiver. You spent $40 million on a cornerback when you could have spent that money on the offensive line. Okay, they didn't. They thought they were a lot closer. And again, I don't blame Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge for putting stock in Matt Pert, Shane Lemieux, and Andrew Thomas and Will Hernandez. You drafted those guys for a reason. You got to let them play. So while I don't agree with it, I understood why they did it. Nick Gates going down hurt them as well. But Nick Gates, let's be honest, is a utility player. He's not somebody that, he's right. We needed offensive weapons. Our core was shit. He's absolutely right. Double dipping at – well, they were going to double dip at wide receiver anyways. Remember they were interested in Devontae Smith? So, whether you take Kadarius Toney or you take Devontae Smith, that was what they were going to do. Trading down, though, is what you could have done. You could have switched a receiver in the second round and still got a guy in the first. It doesn't matter. But the point was they wanted a receiver. They got usurped by the Eagles. And they got Devontae Smith, who I guarantee you, if Devontae Smith is on this team and had the numbers that he had, with, by the way, Jalen Hurts, do we believe he's better than Daniel Jones? I mean,
I actually would take Daniel Jones over Jalen Hurts. I'm just being brutally honest.
Like, I'm just saying, like, Devontae Smith comes in here. If he has the same amount of yardage, we're talking about, man, we got Galladay and Smith. We got Galladay and Toney. Like, right now, Wan'Dale Robinson, to me, is a redundant pick. I'm warming up to it, but I think it's a redundant when you have Kadarius Toney. I just believe that.
Yeah.
Hurts is better right now. I agree. But my point, authentic, is that was a younger quarterback. You had a guy who was in his third year. You would expect Daniel Jones to have produced there.
I think I somewhat agree with Authentic's point right there. I think Daniel Jones is a better passer, but I think Hurts has a better upside in terms of his overall skill set. I think each player has a better skill when it comes to them being a quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is not quite the passer that Daniel Jones is, but I think that Jalen Hurts has a much bigger, higher upside.
Let me get this straight. Let me get this out there first. I think Daniel Jones has a great deep ball. I don't think he's a great passer. I think he has a solid deep ball. I think he can throw most of the throws on the field, but the only thing that awes me with Daniel Jones is when he drops back and he throws a pretty deep ball. That's about it. That is about it. In terms of overall, I like him as a passer, but not he's not a great passer. He's better than Jalen Hurts, which isn't saying much. He's not, you're saying he's better than a Jalen Hurts passer. That's not saying much. You know what I mean?
No, it's not exactly lighting up the world here. Like he's saying he's on Patrick Mahomes level or anything.
Hurts, though, I think will become a better passer this year. Nick Sirianni will do that because I think everything that Hurts has is all mechanical. It's not in his head. It's not like he has to worry about, being a turnover machine. He has all the other intangibles that Daniel Jones has. Now, can he refine his game to become a better passer? And similar
Hurts
to
has no
Lamar,
excuses too. He has
it's
no
similar to
excuses
Lamar
too.
Jackson, right? Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson doesn't have the same chops mentally, I think, that Jalen Hurts has, but he needs to become a better passer and overall to win the game and have longevity on his career.
Yeah.
Because his career is going to be defined as a runner. And I don't like when people are defined as a runner because guys like Steve McNair, who was a better runner, gets forgotten because that guy did everything in the pocket. He wanted to be in the pocket. That one play where he's in the Super Bowl and literally pushing a guy down, he's scrambling, and then he makes a throw downfield as he's stiff-arming the guy to hell, right? As he stiff-arms him to hell and makes a throw downfield. Daniel Jones, I think people are excited about his ability, but sometimes you got to look at the guy and see what he's got. He's a big goofball. Okay, that's what he is. A giant goofball. I think
But we
he's
know
always-
what it's like to have goofballs as our quarterback. I mean, Eli was a little bit of a goofball too, so I mean, we're used to that concept with the Giants.
right. But
quarterbacks.
But the thing about Eli though, he had ice in his veins.
Well,
he-
yeah, I mean, anybody that knows that.
he could throw 4 picks, and you're like, give us a chance with 2 minutes to go, and we'll be back. We have a chance to win this thing. With Daniel Jones, I'm like, damn it, let's hope the offensive line doesn't leak because God forbid this guy has to move or second guess his first read. I think that's another thing that Daniel Jones has. Once he doesn't see his first 2 reads, he doesn't know what to do. He's like, what?
He panics. He begins to panic.
Right.
He has to hope that one of his first 2 reads ends up somehow breaking open so we can get the ball to him before he
It's
gets
true.
sacked.
He didn't play like a goof. He just looked like one.
No, when it came to like his confidence in the game, whenever the game was at one of those moments where you're just waiting to see Eli deliver, every single Giants fan had confidence when there was 2 minutes left in the game and Eli Manning had the ball in his hands that there was a good chance he was going to make the plays necessary to win the game. Every Giants fan knew that. Daniel Jones, we don't know yet. Right now, he hasn't shown that.
Here's how we're going to play this real quick. A game that I like to play. Bet your life, right? And it's called, I'm going to go down the line here and throw out some names with quarterback Daniel Jones. And I'm going to say bet your life. If your life depended on it, are you going with this guy? We'll start with Eli Manning. Bet your life. If your life depended on it, are you going to trust Eli or Daniel?
Oh, Eli, not even a question. Not even like a split thought in my mind.
How about Kyler Murray or Daniel?
Right now, I'd probably say Kyler.
Okay. So
Not a lot, but I'd probably say Kyler.
Okay, we're going to go down the line because I want to make sure that we play this game right before we close out the show. All right, we can go Aaron Rodgers. That's probably That's probably a no-brainer, right? Oh my God, Daniel Jones is ranked 32 out of all the quarterbacks I'm looking at right now in USA Today. Okay, so we'll start from the top. Patrick Mahomes, DJ. Who? You're betting your life on Patrick, right? Rodgers.
Come on, who wouldn't bet their life on Daniel Jones over Patrick Mahomes? Seriously, I mean, of course.
Russell Wilson.
Let's be serious. Russell Wilson.
Okay, great. So let's keep this rolling. So now we're getting into the nitty gritties of it. Josh Allen, Daniel Jones. Bet your life.
Josh Allen.
Okay, we're
No
betting your
fault.
life. Here comes one that's going to be real tricky. Ryan Tannehill, bet your life.
I mean, in terms of body of work of what I've seen right now, I'd probably pick Tannehill.
Okay, let's go with the next guy who's also going to be tricky. Lamar Jackson or Daniel Jones? Who are you betting their life on? Look, authentic
Lamar Jackson's
in this game with me, man. What about Carson Wentz? I'm going to go with Wentz, even though I hate him. I think I would go with Wentz. I rather have ketchup save me than Wentz or Daniel Jones. If I could plead the fifth, I would. I would probably just say shoot me. I don't really have
one
a chance.
I might have to take Wentz, but very slight, like very, very slightly. So I don't
Well,
like
if we're doing it with an aptitude test, probably not. Tom Brady, I'm not even going to ask that question. Deshaun Watson, probably not going to ask because that's another one that's a no-brainer. Dak Prescott, bet your life. Dak Prescott.
I had to pick Dak. Dak's gotten it done more than Daniel Jones. I'd pick Dak right now.
Here's another one. Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones. Bet your life.
Well, I do think Daniel Jones right now, his skills might be in terms of the intangibles might be a little bit better. I still have to give the body of work to Matt Ryan. I'm going by what they've done in their career, and right now
I'm not
Matt
even
Ryan is-
hesitating. I'm giving it to Matty Ice. He got a cooler nickname than Danny Dimes. Give me a break. Matthew
I'm
Stafford.
still by the age of their right now, but I still give it to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, well, by the time Daniel Jones gets to Matthew Stafford's age, he'll be out the league. I mean, Matt Ryan's age, he'll be out the league. Matthew Stafford or Daniel Jones?
Matthew Stafford.
Justin Herbert or Daniel Jones?
No, come on, Justin Herbert.
Kirk Cousins or Daniel Jones?
Kirk Cousins put up pretty good numbers recently, so I'm giving it to Kirk. As much as I might get
there it is.
vilified
We're
by
gonna get
Giants
there.
fans. I
Baker
might get
Mayfield
vilified.
or Daniel Jones? If we're doing body of work, I'm taking Baker Mayfield. If I had a choice, I'm probably taking the gun from the people and shooting myself, saying I'm not going to make it out of this alive anyways, so I'm just going to do the deed myself. You know what I mean? But if we're dealing with just straight, Baker versus Jones, body of work, guy brought a team to the playoffs, was in a game with Kansas City. I'm gonna have to go with Baker Mayfield as much as people are gonna be like, Adam, you idiot. I'm gonna be like, well, you know what? I'm taking Baker. Him and his progressive commercials can help me out. Just bundle your home and auto and you'll be good to go. Joe Burrow or Daniel Jones?
I mean,
Pretty
you might think I'm crazy, Adam, with the question before. I'm actually taking Daniel Jones over Baker
What?
Mayfield.
Then you're dead. Then Jeffrey, I'm coming to your funeral and I will read your
I think I'll be
eulogy.
dead either way. I think I'd be dead no matter what because I don't trust either one of those guys.
I will
Just
read
depending
your
on what
eulogy.
chamber I'm going to get hit by.
I will say Jeffrey T. He was a great host for Premium Takes and
Yeah.
occasionally helped me out on Hurry Up. And he was a giant fan that was lost in the Daniel Jones sweepstakes. But let's keep it moving. Joe Burrow, obviously probably going to take Joe. And here's one that we're going to circle right here. Jared Goff versus Daniel Jones. I would take that as a wash. Either one, I'm not betting my life on either one. But if I had to right now, just because he took his team, I'm just going to say I'm going to die. That's all I'm going to say with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Goff.
Is there a third option?
I'm going to tell the terrorists, you know what? Just take me now, because neither one of these guys I believe in. So I'd rather take the referee than Jared Goff or Daniel Jones.
Do you have to choose? Is it a point you have to choose?
How about this?
between one
How
or
about
the
this?
other?
I'll swipe it for this. Gardner Minshew or Daniel Jones? I'm taking Gardner Minshew.
No, I'm taking Daniel Jones over Minshew.
Oh, my God. Gardner Minshew. Authentic. I know you agree with me. Authentic. He knows Gardner Minshew. It would be a lot of fun to watch Gardner
God,
Minshew.
I can't. This one's tough with Goff and Jones. I don't like Goff. I'm not a
Goff
fan of
sucks.
Goff at all. Oh,
Goff
man.
sucks. But here comes your MVP candidate, Derek Carr or Daniel Jones.
Oh, Derek Carr. I'm very high on Derek Carr this year.
Okay, there's going to be a few more. Trevor Lawrence or Daniel Jones? Probably Daniel Jones, just because Trevor Lawrence has not done much yet.
I'm surprised. I figured you would take Trevor Lawrence because of the upside.
No, I like Lawrence better than Jones. I thought you would take Lawrence over
No,
Jones.
I think I would still probably take Lawrence because I think he's still got a higher upside than Jones. It's
Well, how
closer
about-
though because Lawrence isn't done
Obviously, Mitchell Trubisky or Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky or
much. Oh, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Come on, how can you ever disrespect Fitzmagic? Let's go. God, like you're really getting to the nitty gritty with this one right now with Trubisky and Jones because they're pretty much like mirror images of each other. You pretty much say like Daniel Jones looks like to be like a younger version of Mitchell Trubisky with the types of skill sets they have.
he's a booty.
God, this
Did
is
your booty. And we got some guys here where Daniel might actually win. Okay.
I think I'm giving Daniel Jones the upper hand. I
Okay,
think this
so-
is tough, but I think I would give Jones the upper hand over Trubisky.
We already I have a great thing right here. It's called 33rd team analysis. They have all the quarterbacks in tier. Tier 1 is Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers, Herbert, Brady, Burrow. We already know Jones ain't going to beat this guy. Tier 2 is Prescott, Watson, Jackson, Stafford, Wilson. Probably not going to bet your life with Daniel Jones against any of those guys. Derek Carr and Kyler Murray, we both agreed Kyler Murray. Those are tier 3 outside looking in, right? And we also believe in Russell Wilson. Here's where it gets tricky. Kirk Cousins, we took Captain Kirk. Mac Jones. What are your thoughts on Mac Jones?
I think Mac Jones is going to have a really rough season because I just don't like what they're building around with that. With Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, who neither one of them are an offensive coordinator, running that offense. I feel for Mac Jones what he's going to have to deal with. So, oh God,
Even Authentic agrees with me. Woo!
I'm still taking DJ. I'm taking DJ over Minshew.
If I were giving away chicken dinners, I'd be giving one to Authentic. Chicken parm dinners. I hope you like chicken parm. Or whatever dinner you'd like. Authentic. If I were a famous guy and had a lot of money, I'd buy you dinner at the radio host because yes, Minshew all day. He's got that winning attitude. But let's keep it rolling while we close out this show. So we did. Here's a couple guys that might work. Mac Jones. You said you're going to take who?
Well, I mean, Mac Jones has had a very good rookie season, so I guess right now I'd probably take Mac Jones over Daniel Jones.
I wish we were keeping count, but I think we're right now like 2 or 3 for Daniel Jones, and the rest of the league, like Jones is like what, like.
Well, I mean, I think this year I'd probably take Daniel Jones over Mac Jones because I just don't have faith in what Mac Jones has around him.
We'll continue with a couple more guys, and then I'll count out the names because I remember on the list, and we can see how many guys we deem are better than Daniel Jones. Now, Jameis Winston, bet your life, Jameis Winston or Daniel Jones. I'm going to go Jameis Winston. I know that he's
taking Jameis Winston,
but when you throw for 5,000 yards in a season, that's pretty good. Justin Fields or Daniel Jones. I hate to say it, I'm taking Daniel Jones.
Oh, I'm taking Daniel Jones. What's Justin Fields done right now?
Right.
Even with Daniel Jones doing not as good, I'm taking Daniel.
And here's a controversial one right now: Jimmy Garoppolo or Daniel Jones. Unfortunately, I have to go with Jimmy G, only because of the body of work he's done. Wow, you're taking Fields. Me, you must really hate Daniel Jones.
Jesus, Authentic.
Wow.
You're taking Fields over Jones? Wow. Not with this Chicago offense.
That's like a Sports Center. I have to give that one a da-da-da because that is straight fire. Authentic. If he didn't have a meeting, would be on here right now. Bing bang boom. Listen, sub up to Authentic. He's got his show, Authentic in the Beard. They do a great job.
His show's coming back in a couple of weeks, so yeah, make sure you sub up to his show. Him and Beard always bring the fire to their shows every single football season.
Imagine Fields in our offense. Yes, we would not look. It would be spectacular. So you're right. And like I said, Authentic does a great show with him and the Beard. It's a great show every week. Hopefully, we'll be able to have Authentic on for me and Max NFC East roundup. Maybe get his take on the NFC East. Maybe we can collabo with both of them. Who knows? I'll reach out to Authentic at some point to see if we can do that. But Authentic, you're always welcome on Premium Takes, and you're always welcome on NFC East Roundup. I'm sure Mac is listening. He would not be opposed to that. But to continue this exercise, let's keep it rolling. So I said Jameis Winston, Jimmy G. Let's see, Tua Tagovailoa.
Daniel Jones. I'm taking Daniel Jones over Tua. I do not like Tua. Do not like Tua at all.
But here's another guy that I really like, and I'm going to go with Davis Mills of the Houston Texans. I'm taking Davis Mills. He was a better passer than Daniel Jones in college. He was a 5-star recruit. Only because he had an injury is the reason why he's a 3rd-round pick from Stanford. I take Davis Mills. We already did Jared Goff. We did Jalen Hurts. Here's the last crop of guys here. Zach Wilson. I like Zach Wilson's upside. I'm taking him over Daniel Jones. Marcus Mariota is what we aspire Daniel Jones to be, but Marcus Mariota is slightly better than Daniel Jones, so I'll have to take him. Daniel Jones, I would not take Daniel Jones over Daniel Jones. I would take rookie Daniel Jones over Daniel Jones now because Daniel Jones now is caca. Drew Lock is
Daniel Jones in that sentence.
Drew Lock is yes, you are right. You are right. That Mills is very similar to Jones, but I will go with the long neck in Davis Mills, then I will the fumbler in Daniel Jones. And the last two, Drew Lock or Daniel Jones. I hate to say it, I'm going with DJ here because Drew Lock hasn't shown me anything. And Sam Darnold, well, they have Sam Darnold on here or Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones. Again, if I had to bet on these two guys, I'm probably gonna have to save either one. I'm probably going to take Garner Minshew over both those guys to save me. But anyways, this has been another edition of the Hurry Up. We did this game. It's called Bet Your Life. We're going to do it again. Again, as we go through.
If we did this in real life, we'd be dead right now.
If we did this in real life, there would be a lot of death on this show with a lot of the quarterbacks we mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's bet your life, and then if it's a wash, I guess you get to walk away with your life anyways, because that it's dealer's choice. At that point, you win. So you got two ways of winning. Either Daniel Jones is equal to Darnold, which is caca, and you get to walk away, or your brains are blown out because you chose the wrong guy. We'll find out this season if Daniel Jones is a guy I'm going to bet my life with, or if I'm going to see him flipping burgers or being a delivery boy for Pizza Hut. We'll see.
Terrible. It's so bad. I don't think he's going to be that bad. He's just probably going to be a backup quarterback.
Listen, Authentic, thank you for coming out. Everyone in the chat, thanks for coming. AK, Mitchell, Jeff, couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to be your co-host for the Hurry Up today. I appreciate it.
Listen, man, this might become a permanent thing with you and I in the Hurry Up. I need a host that can kind of get me through the shows. So, if you're available and we have time, this might be a show that we can do together. I might do my Hurry Up stand-up by myself, but you could always jump on as the co-host of the Hurry Up as well.
I'd love to be able to one day be able to chop it up with Authentic too. That's one of the guys I've been wanting to do a stream with eventually too.
One of the best in the business. If you get respect from that guy, he's shown me a lot of love. I appreciate Authentic and his takes. I appreciate him showing me love on other podcasts when I'm there, or he happens to stop by and I'm on it. I really appreciate it.
The best in the business.
He's on with the Hub. The Hub I also love too. He also gives me a shout out here and there. So I love to be recognized amongst the greats, the guys who kind of got me back into this, the guys who I love being on their shows or being in their chat rooms, because they're going to give it to you real. They're not going to sugarcoat anything, and they're going to see both sides of the coin. They're not just going to shove their narrative down your throat and say you're wrong. They're going to say, hey, listen, that's your opinion, but here are some of the facts that I brought with my opinion.
That's what it's all about. You might not agree with everybody's opinion, but at the same time, we all love the New York Giants, and we're just looking out to see what's best for our team. And
yes,
you got to respect everybody in this community.
Authentic has been one of the guys that I followed coming back into the stream. I did this in 2011, and nobody really watched. I took a hiatus due to some reasons. I probably never should have, but I got back into it. And one of the guys that kind of got me back in was the voice of Authentic. The way he produced the show, him and the Hub also kind of got me going too. So, I'm back. I'm here to tear up YouTube. And if guys like Authentic want to jump on or show me the love they have, and the guys like Hub, I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys
He's back and he's ready to go out there and praise Daniel Jones.
And that's right. We're going to burn this mother to the ground, taking Daniel Jones with me. I'm the Grim Reaper of quarterbacks, and I'm coming for you, Daniel. I'm coming for you. But like I said, this has been a great show. Jeff, again, we'll do this again. We'll do this next time. But we have had a pre-training camp edition of the Hurry Up. We got guys like Authentic, AK, legends in the building, Mac the Giant Fan, Jeffrey T. Thank you so much. Jeff, shout out where they can catch you and catch your stuff.
Well, I appreciate, like I said before, I appreciate you allowing me to be the co-host on the show. Thank you, everybody that's come by the stream. And if you can catch me at NYG Jeffrey T 3285, where I cover the New York Giants, Brooklyn Nets, New York Mets, as well as WWE Wrestling. And thank you, everybody, for the support that you've given me since I started my YouTube journey about 4 months ago. So thank you, Adam. Thank you, everybody out there in the YouTube community. And let's go New York Giants. Let's hope for the best this season.
That was awesome. You can find me on doing stand-ups about the Hurry Up, talking all things NFL. This one was a predominantly NFL show that we got to talk about. You can also catch me on Premium Takes with one of my horsemen to my right, Jeffrey, the Giant Fan here, Mac, the Giant Fan, and Zion Zenith. We're coming with Premium Takes. It's going to be a new time. We haven't discussed the new time yet, but it will be coming to you within the next few weeks, because obviously we don't want to do the show and interrupt your football season. I know that I don't want to be interrupted, so you definitely don't want to be interrupted. So we're going to get you that show. And then last, but certainly not least, and one of my favorite shows coming up. Not that Premium Takes is not, but the NFC East Roundup with the NFC East Roundup with my man Mac the Giant Fan, who's now in Mexico drinking tequilas and margaritas. We'll be bringing it to you next week from here on out to the end of the season, right through the Super Bowl, giving you those hot takes. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Ryan Kerrigan just retired.
Well, good. No, not another thorn in the Giants' side. But
Yeah.
we're out, folks. Have a good one.
Take it easy, everybody.